Okay, and welcome back to Project 4. This is part 3 of Project 4, where we're going to take the wing that we made in part 1 and the tail that we made in part 2, and we're going to add a fuselage and create something that kind of looks like an airplane so that we can get it ready for 3D printing in the wind tunnel. Okay. The basic tool that we're going to use to create a fuselage is the Forms tool up here, and we can click on this Create Forms button. We can click the plane that we want to create it on here. I'm going to create a cylinder. I'm going to create the center of the cylinder and then set the diameter, and then going to elongate the cylinder. And this is the basic starting point that we're going to use to create our fuselage. Before I get into that though, I'm going to try to get my wing and my tail in a good position. I'm actually going to go for a replica of an F-104 aircraft. So I want to have some sort of reference to use to know where this wing and tail should go for an F-104 type layout. And so I'm going to go up to the insert menu here, and I'm going to insert a canvas. And I'm going to insert from my computer, and I'm going to choose this F-104 3 view that I have here, and I'm going to put it on this plane right here. And I don't see that picture anywhere because it's really tiny. So I'm going to grab this scale handle here and drag it a few times until I start to see that thing get big enough there. Here I'm going to use it as an outline for sketching. And I want to flip it around horizontally so it's pointed the same way that my model is pointed. And I'll press OK. Now the cool thing about this canvas is that we can calibrate the canvas. Now you'll see I've got a new thing here in my model tree canvases, and here's my 3 view of an F-104, and I can right click on this and click calibrate. And using a wingspan is a really good way to calibrate an aircraft. I know the F-104 wingspan was 21 feet 11 inches. I'm going to call it 22 feet. So I'm going to click on one edge of the wingtip to the other edge of the wingtip, and now I can calibrate this canvas so that distance is a certain distance. I'm going to type in 22 feet. Close enough. Okay, so I know that this canvas now is calibrated to a wingspan of 22 feet. So I'm going to right click on it, edit canvas now, and move it into position so the origin is somewhat lined up with the nose of the aircraft, probably before that boom. So right about there. Now I can click on my tail here, and I can move my tail into position just using my canvas as a guide. And I'm going to put it right about there. And you can see now that my tail, now that I've got it lined up to my canvas, it doesn't look quite like the F-104 tail. I didn't do too bad with that curvature in the beginning, but it is a little bit shorter than the F-104 tail, especially at the tip cord. It's a little bit shorter at the tip cord as well. So I'm going to line it up like that, and I'm going to modify, change parameters, and now I can change that tip cord of my vertical tail. So I had 4 1/4 feet here. I'm going to change it to 5, and it messed up the loft a little bit, so all I need to do is come back to sketches now and just start to play around with this to fix it. So I'm going to turn on my tip sketch and my root sketch. I'm going to turn off my canvas for now, and I'm going to turn off the wing here, and now I'm going to move this sketch so the trailing edge is lined up again right about there. Click OK, and now my vertical tail is looking a little bit better. I'll turn my canvas back on. Okay, so that's not looking too bad there. Now I just need to fix the top, the horizontal tail at the top. And to do that, I put these things in a rigid group. So I'm going to go back and delete the rigid group, and I'm going to select the horizontal tail, and I'm going to move it, and I'm going to try to move it a little bit. Okay, so I've got the vertical tail lined up pretty well with the canvas. I'd have to find a way to model the top of this vertical tail. I could extend the vertical tail up and then use a sketch to cut off this curved shape of it, and then use some fillets around the top, and that'd probably be a pretty decent approach. For right now, that's going to be good enough. The next thing I want to do is position my wing approximately correct. And right now my wing is still a body over here. I'm going to right click on this and create a component from the body. So now my wing is down here as a component. And now I can move it easier, and it retains its own origin and stuff like that. So now I want to get the height of the wing right, and the anhedral, because the F104 has anhedral. In order to do that, I really need a front view of the wing. So I'm going to go insert canvas, and I'm going to insert that same drawing. I'm going to insert it on this plane right here. I need to make it big enough to see again, so I'm going to keep on dragging this out until it's big enough to see. There I go right there. And I'm going to turn off the other one temporarily. Now I'm going to edit this canvas just like I edited the other canvas. I'm going to calibrate this canvas. Okay, so I calibrated this canvas using this wingspan here because I know my wingspan was 22 feet. All I have to do is go back to my parameters here and see that my half span of the wing was 11 feet. So the overall wingspan was 22 feet. So I know that's about right. And now I want to move this wing into position. So I want to get the wing root approximately right. And then I want to correct the anhedral by moving the tip of the wing down. So I'm going to turn on my wingtip sketch, and I'm going to select that wingtip sketch and click move, and I'm going to move that wingtip sketch down until I get the anhedral that I'm looking for. And it's just a matter of trying to match the canvas approximately, and that's looking pretty close right here. I'm not sure, the canvas doesn't look like lined up perfectly, but that does look pretty close. I'll go a little bit more on this side here, like that, and then I can actually move the wing. I'm going to select components here, move the wing up a little bit, and I'll just tweak it one more time. Okay, it's pretty close to the anhedral there, so I'll turn off that wingtip sketch. So that's the wing placement that I'm looking for in terms of the anhedral and the height of the wing. Now the other thing I want to do is make sure the wing is lined up to the x-coordinate where it needs to be on the fuselage. So in order to do that, I'm going to turn off that canvas, and I'm going to insert another canvas, and I'm going to use that same drawing because this is my one reference drawing. I'm going to insert the canvas on this plane right here, and I'm going to make it bigger, and I just need to calibrate this canvas. I'm going to make sure I have a perpendicular top view, and then I'll calibrate this to be 22 feet and move this canvas into position where I put the nose on the origin as well. And for my nose here, I'm just using the tip of the nose before the boom starts. So right about there. Okay, and now I can position my wing and kind of match it up with the F104's wing in this direction. And once again, it looks like the canvas is not lined up perfectly. So I'm going to edit the canvas again and move it so at least the midplane of the canvas is lined up with the midplane of the wing. My 22-foot wing is matching the 22-foot scale on the canvas. And now I'm looking at my wing, and I think it needs to move forward a little bit. I think the root chord needs to become bigger and try to fix that leading edge sweep. So I'm going to change parameters. I'm going to change my root chord to 13 feet. And then I'm going to move the wing forward by clicking here and right about there. And now I need to change that tip airfoil sketch again. Now the tip airfoil sketch is showing up over here because that's where the original drawing was, but I'm just going to move it back knowing that it will change the sweep on this wing right there, and that was pretty close. And I think I can bring that root cord back a little bit. But I'm going to move the wing forward first. Yeah, I don't know. I think I'll just keep moving that sweep back. Okay, that matches up pretty well with the canvas in terms of the wing placement in this plane, the XY plane, and the sweep and the wing span. And then if I turn off this canvas and turn on the canvas that's in the YZ plane and look at it from this direction, the wing lines up in terms of the height and the anhedral very well. So I'm pretty happy with the wing placement here, and I'm pretty happy with the tail placement. And I'm going to turn off that sketch that's showing, and now I can get started with inserting a fuselage here, a form, and trying to create the fuselage of the F-104. So I'm going to go to Create Form, click on the cylinder button to create a cylinder. I'm going to click on the plane. I want to sketch the diameter of the cylinder on, and I want to turn on the 3-view drawing that has my front view on it, so I can get this diameter to roughly match the diameter of the aircraft. I'm going to force it to rotate the view by clicking on the corner of the view cube here, and I'm going to turn off that second canvas, and now I'm going to drag this fuselage back right about there for now. And now I've got my basic fuselage form. Okay, now a couple things we need to make sure that we have set before we click OK here and create our body. First of all, I have these segments here in the X direction lengthwise, and I want a lot more of those because I want to be able to control the shape of the fuselage a little bit finer. So I'm going to put in 15 faces in that direction, and I can turn on symmetry as well. Now there's obviously three planes that I could be symmetric about. So if I clicked on length symmetry, I see that this line here is colored differently, so the top of this fuselage is going to be symmetric with the bottom. That's not what I want. If I click on height symmetry here, I see that this one is highlighted here, so now the front of the fuselage is going to be symmetric with the back. That's not what I want either, so I click on width symmetry, and this is the symmetry that I want. So the left-hand side will be symmetric with the right-hand side. So that's what I want there, and I'm going to make sure I have this roughly correct, and I know it's not full length, and that's because I'm going to move the whole thing back, probably line it up with this bulkhead of the aircraft here before I get started on too much. So I think I'm close enough now to press OK on this form. And now I've got this fuselage form here, and I can get to work on shaping it into the fuselage. I'm just going to move it back for now and move it up slightly so it's level with the most part of the bottom of the fuselage. Okay, so when it comes to forms, we basically have three main components of the form that we can manipulate. There's the face, and I've got a face selected here, and you can see when I select this face, because I've got this symmetry defined along that plane, it's also highlighting that the other face will be affected by anything I do to this face. So that's a face. There's also edges, so I can select the edges between two faces, and same thing here, it indicates that symmetry is on. And there's also vertexes, and I can select the vertex of these four faces here, and I can manipulate this vertex. No matter which one I choose, after I select it, I can come up here to the Edit Form command, and now I can manipulate this by dragging, rotating, or scaling this component that I have selected. In this case, I can't scale it, but so you see whatever I did to this vertex here, it did it in a smooth fashion, so it's creating a smooth body, and it did it symmetrically about that XC plane. So I'm going to cancel that and undo that change by pressing Control-Z, because I'm not ready to get into that quite yet. The other major operation I can do here, and there's a lot of them here under the Modify menu, and you can just read about them and read the description to see more about what they do. But this crease one is important, because I could select some edges like this, and then that creates a sharp crease there. I can select that crease, and right now I have my selection filter over here set to vertex. So it's highlighting all the vertexes I can select, and I can't select any edges, but I want to select edges. So I'm going to choose edges over here, and I'm going to choose these edges that I just creased by holding down the shift key. And now I can pull those edges out, and you can see I'm kind of making a chine for my aircraft. So if I wanted a chine on my aircraft, that would be the right way to make a chine, is by creasing that edge and then manipulating that edge out. Okay, so, and you could pull that chine forward or backward or whatever you wanted to do. Okay, so that crease command is a powerful one. I'm going to undo that crease because I don't need it right now. Now the other thing here is that this cylinder is really just a surface right now. It's not a volume, so I need to close this in and turn it into a volume. And I can do that by going to the Modify menu and saying Fill Hole. And I can select an edge along this hole, and automatically fills the hole. And now it's very important that I choose the right method of filling the hole. There's three options here. This Reduce Star, which kind of just nubs it over. The Fill Star, which is probably the most robust way to fill a hole. Just because of this shape here doesn't result in any triangles. Triangles can get you in trouble when you're working with forms, and they can cause you to result in a really jagged, unsmooth body. Or there's this third option, Collapse, which results in triangles. But in this case, I need triangles because I want to pull the nose of this fuselage out to a point. So I want this Collapse option here. So I'm going to press OK, and now I've got that side of the fuselage closed up. I'm going to come over to this side. I'm going to say Modify, Fill Hole, and I click on an edge there. And I want this one to be a little bit more robust, so I'm going to do Fill Star here so that I can manipulate this a little bit better without getting into a situation where I have vertexes that are crossing over each other, aren't lined up. That can be a tricky situation to try to fix that stuff. Okay, so I've got my fuselage looking thing here right now. It kind of just looks like a hot dog for the time being, but I can start manipulating this and turning it into something that looks like my canvas behind it. And I'm going to do that now. The selection box here comes in handy. I have window selection turned on, and if I drag from the left to the right, I'm only going to select the things in the box, whereas if I drag from the right to the left, I'm going to select everything that's touching my selection box. Okay, so this is a really handy thing to keep in mind again. And I'm going to select these two for now, and I'm going to pull those back to right about there. That should be good enough for now. And now I want to pull this vertex out and make the pointy nose on the end. So I'm going to go to Edit Form again. I'm going to turn on my selection filter to select vertex, and I drew a box over there, so I only selected the things inside the box. And now I can pull that out to make that kind of match up the nose of the canvas. And I'm going to drag it down a little bit, and that's kind of a good point where I want that. Okay, now I can check out these faces here, and I see they're all kind of high right now, and I want to pull those in a little bit and make the nose a little bit tighter. So I'm going to select these here, and I'm going to move those in. Now I'm going to select the ones on the top and move them down right there. And now I'll select the vertex here and move that back up to where it needs to go. It's not terrible. Okay. All right, and now this kind of is bent the wrong way here, so I'm going to select this edge here, move this out a little bit to kind of smooth that out a little bit, and we've got the nose of the aircraft approximately right. And now I want to focus on the middle section of the fuselage here to there, and now move that up until it approximately matches the top of the fuselage right there. Okay. All right, so that's kind of got the middle of the fuselage approximately right. Now the back end of the fuselage here. I've got to do some thinking about this because the back end has this curvature here towards the back. There's like a different cylinder here that's the exhaust of the engine. That's a different diameter and stuff. So I think I'm just going to try to model this part of it here with this spline, with this curvature coming back. And then if I wanted to, I could come back and put in another cylinder here to model the exhaust. So the first thing I want to do is get this section, approximately in the right area. So I'm going to highlight it like this and click on Move. And I'm going to move it up, and I want to do a free transformation here where I can also rotate it. I'm going to extend it past the end of the fuselage because I'm going to bring this end of it back inside of itself to kind of make a clean hole at the end there. So that could be good enough for now. And now I want to pull down on these faces here. So I don't like how many faces I selected there, so I'm going to pull down on these ones. There we go. And rotate those a little bit. Yeah, that's pretty close. Okay. And now I'm going to select these faces on top, and I'm going to pull up on them until that's approximately matching the canvas a little bit. Okay. Now the end of this fuselage here, I can select this fill star that I had here, and I can take it in on itself like this, and so that kind of creates a nice way to close off that volume, and that's going to look pretty nice 3D printed. We wouldn't want to try to model it hollow on the inside anyway, so that's a pretty nice way to finish off the fuselage there. And now I just need to lengthen this back out to match it up to the actual end of the fuselage. So I'm going to select this, and now I just need to rotate this there. Okay, so that's getting me closer, and now I just need to figure out how to make this kind of curvature coming out the back of the fuselage. And I'm going to select faces again. Well, actually, I might try to select edges here to see if I could be successful selecting this edge right here and just pulling that out like that. And rotating, I don't want to rotate that too much because that could collapse in on itself kind of and give me some issues. So we may not be able to get it all the way. Okay, so that's pretty good, but now I've got this kind of weird bulge sticking down here, and I'd like to try to take care of that a little bit. So I'm going to click on Move Copy. I'm going to click on Vertex this time. I'm going to click on this vertex, and I'm going to drag this vertex in. Okay, yeah, it's not terrible. It definitely captures some of the feature that the F104 had. And it's kind of hard to see from a canvas, but you can always just pull up a picture of an F104 or whatever aircraft you're trying to make and take a look at it. And I obviously didn't capture, that whole length of it, but I got a little bit of it. So, okay, so that doesn't look too bad right there. I'm capturing the height of the fuselage along this, and I can just turn the canvas on and off to get a better view of it. And the last thing I need to do here is to fix the cockpit. So to fix the cockpit, I'm going to go to Edit Form again. I'm going to click on the edges now, and I'm going to click on these two edges here that kind of make up most of the cockpit. I'm going to drag them up, and that is actually pretty close. Okay, I like that. I like that a lot. And now I've captured this kind of profile of the F104. But I'm going to take a look at it from my other sketch view here, other canvas view. And, it's not too bad from this either. It looks like this bottom of the fuselage here should actually come down a little bit like that. And it looks like this area here, should come out a little bit. There we go. and it's not too bad in that direction either. Okay. The only thing I don't care for is kind of this bulge here along the cockpit. Looking at a picture of the F-104, there's probably a crease along here where it's not totally smooth, where the fuselage transforms into the cockpit and stuff. So I could try to crease this. In reality, that probably doesn't matter too much for small 3D printed aircraft. So I'm just going to select this edge here. Okay, it's not the worst F-104 fuselage ever made. I'm going to click Finish Form, and now it pops back out, and my form now is just a solid volume here. It's another body that shows up here in my list, and it kind of looks like an F-104. Kind of looks like the world's first production Mach 2 aircraft that held simultaneous airspeed, altitude, and time to climb records, and only made in a few minutes by putting the canvas on and using forms to kind of manipulate the fuselage to what I wanted it to be. I can come back in and add another form here to account for this exhaust pipe for the engine, and then I really should come back in and add a couple more to account for this curvature. Okay, so I've got my inlet here, looking somewhat decent. I'm just going to compare it to my canvases. So on this canvas here, I'm going to go back into edit the mode so the fuselage is grayed out. So I'll go back into edit. So in this canvas view, it appears to mostly match up. Look at the front view here, and appears to mostly match up. And look at this top view, and appears to mostly match up in the top view here. So I'm going to click on Finish Form. I'm going to turn off that one, and now I just need to create the same inlet on the other side. So if I right-click on my form again, go to Edit, and click on the Symmetry menu and say Mirror Duplicate, I'm going to create a duplicate of this across a mirror plane. So I'm going to click on the body I want to duplicate, click on the mirror plane that I want to duplicate across, and now I have my two inlets here on either side of the fuselage. Press OK, and then press Finish Form, and now I go back out, and I've got my two inlets going back into my engine, and doesn't appear to be half bad. Now I do need to create the cone coming out of the inlet, and I could use another form to do that as well. Okay, and there's an attempt at the F-104's inlet cone. Looks a little bit high. I can still tweak it a little bit, but you get the gist of that. Basically, the F-104 didn't have variable inlets or variable geometry inlets just had a fixed inlet cone right there. So, yep. So, and I don't think I need to model the exhaust pipe here because in the next video I'm going to cut this out to mount this on the staying balance in the wind tunnel. So, you don't have to make a previously existing aircraft for Project 4. You can make any aircraft you want. Make up a wing, make up a tail, make up a fuselage. You know what they say, if it looks right, it flies right. So just make up any aircraft you want, or you can model it after previously existing aircraft like I did using canvases, which is pretty easy to do, as you saw. So have fun, make your aircraft, and then in the next video, we'll prepare it to go into the wind tunnel. Okay.